What the hell is that?
So hey y'all, Aman here, and you're watching Heart Limits, channel that talks about everything heart related. Now before I jump into what this video is all about, I want to apologize to you all because for the past 2 weeks I've actually been really busy because I actually finally made a move to Germany. And because of that I had to deal with lots of paperwork and lots of insane number of stuff that it just kind of caught up to me, and so here I am trying to make up for that videos that I actually failed to post for the past 2 weeks. So yeah, besides the point. So today's video is actually all about how to deal with stress the best way, or you could say the best way to deal with stress. But of course, as you've seen in the intro of this video, I'm not actually going to be emphasizing on those situations where it's like life and death, where you actually run for your life, but in scenarios where you actually have enough time to actually manage and, deal with the stress. Because after all, if it's a life and death situation, you don't really have enough time to manage your, your fear, your stress, and, if it's a long-term kind of thing, anxiety. So yeah. Now, stress affects our behavior, and in more serious cases, it could actually also affect our heart health. Now, when we get into stress, you actually can see two sides of it. There's stress which actually brings good things to a person, and stress which brings bad things. But the problem is, the longer a person is stressed and the bigger the event which caused the stress, the more dangerous it is to a person. So of course, if you go for the positive, you would see situations like, let's say a deadline is fast approaching. When a person is stressed, suddenly the person is somewhat more productive. Of course, it's a case-to-case basis. Some people just can't seem to manage with that stress and just, technically can't think straight, can't do anything, just space out, and sometimes, they just get insomnia and just are disturbed by the whole situation. But some people, me included, we actually work better when the deadline is fast approaching. Because of that stress, we feel like, alright, we have to do this, we have to figure out something, and suddenly, things just work. For us to manage stress, there's actually, I found to be the best way to do it. And it involves 4 steps. So, let's start with step 1. Now, normally, most people would think that the first step is to accept the problem, accept the thing which basically stresses you out. But in reality, the more important thing to do is to start with the letter D, which is basically to detach. Now, the beauty with starting with, with the step to detach is that you see the problem for what it is. You can see it on a third-person view and, kind of, before you accept it for what it is, you understand what it is. When you detach yourself from a problem, you actually see more points to it, and you can basically figure out, what are the possible solutions, what can you do about it, and you see its totality and not just, that one side, which could be very, very, very hard to accept to a person. So step 1 is to detach from that thing which triggered your stress, alright? Step 2 is letter P, which is positive self-talk. Now, to be honest, I have no idea why I got on this thing. It's actually quite funny and it's quite scary because I have this camera. But whenever you deal with stress, it's important that finally, after you've actually detached from the problem, you actually start giving yourself some positive self-talk. Because in that regard, you give some hope that you are able to, receive that stress and find a solution for it. Of course, there are times where it feels quite grim, that the possibility that you could actually, resolve the problem is quite small, but in reality, for every problem, there is a solution one way or another. So by giving yourself some positive self-talk actually helps you deal with that stress. But of course, some people, they get into music, they play an instrument, they play sports. This is actually a way to manage your stress, but it's not really a way to deal with the stress. By doing those types of things actually helps you kind of keep a straight mind and not be too bothered in those certain situations. So step 2 is positive self-talk. So yeah, this is quite interesting where I am actually right now. Here, try to take a look. Cool thing is it's not going too fast. If it is, I might be really terrified with my camera. So after your D and P, which is that you've detached yourself from the problem and that you've given yourself some, some positive self-talk, it's actually quite important for you to share and to finally accept your problem. Now the beauty is when you share your problem, or the thing which basically, oh my god, this is hard to do, the thing which stresses you out, it's actually quite good because you see a different perspective from other people. Other people could give you solutions or could give you a better insight on that problem. And it could give you a better end product of what to accept. So by doing this in that order actually lets you accept the problem for more on its totality, not just on your own perspective, but also in the perspective of others. So of course, the best people to approach would be your family, your friends, your closest friends. And for some people, for some reason, they want to even share it to their enemies so that they're more driven to do something about it. But yeah, that really depends per person. So step 3 is to share and accept. So now we're gonna go into step 4. Oh, shoot! I can do it. I'm back. And the last step is to approach the problem. Now it's very important that you've laid the groundwork, which is basically your step 1, 2, 3. Because if you don't, completely understand the problem, you actually won't be able to approach it in a way which is very, in your favor. It would be sad if you think you've solved the problem, but in the end, you just end up having more problems, more stress, and more things to deal with. So, prepare the groundwork and finally, deal with the problem. Alright? So, once again, Aman here, and you're watching Heart Limits. Now remember, stress is quite dangerous. It could affect your behavior and also your physical and mental health. So try your best to approach it and try your best to manage it. Alright? So that's DPSA. That's the 4 steps. Alright? So, once again, see ya.